No. It's kind of nothing shot. Why do all my locations suck?
Your locations don't suck. You're just not using them right. First of all, very hot. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna put up my hair right now because it's already becoming a pain in the butt. I wanted to talk about locations today because we all know that locations, awesome locations, are what we all need to take awesome photos and awesome videos. Sometimes you just can't find quite the right location. So, what do? Don't pay attention to the street next to me. It's incredibly noisy, but I really wanted to use this location because it's a good example of my first point, which is when you're dealing with less than ideal locations, the first thing that I always look for is contrast and texture. We're looking at really stark differences between our highlights and our shadows. The second thing that I'll do is I'll poke around and try to find a lot of texture. And that's pretty easy when you're shooting in an urban environment because you have things like this brick, which is absolutely gorgeous. And the reason I wanted to use this as an example is because the grout and the actual brick itself are kind of the same color. Another thing that you can do is kind of look at the surroundings. So for instance, this building, we're actually in the back of this building here. But what we can do is we can just move to the right a little bit and we find this really cool door. We can use that to our advantage. Next up is an idea that I find very interesting, also very, very common amongst photographers and videographers, and that is the idea of utilizing leading lines. So dumb. Genuinely, I really do believe that leading lines are one of the most important things any photographer or videographer, regardless of skill level, can pay attention to. I know this video is like all about like not great locations, but I mean, how could I not shoot here? Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to utilize this location to demonstrate the use and disuse of leading lines. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shoot over against this wall, kind of flat, and you'll see something like this. When I kind of switch it up and try to embrace all the leading lines of this whole location, we end up with photos that look a lot like this. Just wanted to interject real fast because this is going to be one of those situations where it's actually better to break the rules than follow them. I actually ended up liking the flat photograph more than the leading lines photograph, so, you know, just be ready to break the rules as well. I don't know. I guess this is silly. Anyway, back to the video. Ugh. So hot. I'm sweating so much. Oh. So it's actually really funny how many awesome locations I keep finding when I'm trying to do this project, but I have to keep reminding myself this is about bad locations, not about good locations. And the one we're in right now is pretty cool because it's very bland. It has a lot of texture, which is nice because of the gravel and the trees and the grass and the concrete and all that stuff. But it brings me into my next tip, which is kind of related to our leading lines, and that is looking for windows. And not just like windows, but framing. Essentially, you just use squares and empty space to frame up your subject matter. So we can take some photos like this. Something else to keep in mind is that you can always do multiple versions of these things in one location at a time. So for instance, right now, I'm looking for contrast, texture, and windows all at the same time. And I found this really cool thing, like right over here, there's these beautiful little shadows that show up. They kind of make a little cross section over here. And it actually turned out really, really well. It's one of my favorites of the day. Next thing I wanted to talk about was twofold. One, it's having a change of clothes because it's super hot outside, but two, mainly it's all about shooting up, down, and all around whatever location you've decided to shoot in. And when it's less than ideal, you have to make sure that you exploit all of the angles. We're gonna see if we can take a cool photo utilizing nothing but that. So that's what we're gonna do. Again, this location is really all about those same rules that we've been going over and sort of combining them together, not just doing one after the other, but actually utilizing them all at the same time. Last thing I'll say is that if the location still isn't working for you, walk around. Check out some other spots around the block. That's all I've been doing today. I went to one location and I walked in like a 4 or 5 block radius. Basically, it just boils down to you not making excuses for yourself. Think of it this way. Think of it as like a phrase, don't make excuses, make it happen. Love you guys. Talk to you next week. Peace.